Good afternoon, everyone. It's 12/1/2019, and I wanted to come on here this afternoon and talk about an article that I just came across a few hours ago about a UFO buzzing the White House, and apparently this happened this past Tuesday. The incident caused an abrupt security situation. Jets were scrambled, and officials outside Capitol facilities were told to stay away out of the area. The U.S. Secret Service said personnel at the White House were told to stay in place, and officials heard it was hovering and were given the knots measuring its speed, but did not release its estimated speed to the public. And so my question is this kind of incident going to lead up to the UFOs and aliens being blamed on the disappearance of millions when the rapture takes place, like some have been told in dreams and visions and words of knowledge for the last year or two? And I know some, people that would be skeptical or something might say, well, maybe it was some aircraft or something from some other country. But if that were the case, we would have great cause to be worried then, because they violated our security space around the White House. And when the jets were scrambled to intercept it, it was going so fast that they never could catch up to it and actually see what it was. And of course, before the jets were scrambled, it was hovering above the White House. So it was hovering in place. So what kind of aircraft would that have been from some other country that could do that and then go that fast that the jets couldn't even catch up with it? I have a feeling, a couple months ago, the Navy mentioned that UFOs were real and that they had videos of them and stuff like that, and then they actually released the video to the public. Now, next, I want to talk about the Pope's one world religion. Pope Francis traveled to Thailand and presented Buddhist Supreme Patriarch with a declaration of human fraternity peace covenant of Chrislam. Pope Francis is building his one world religion called Chrislam, but it will not be limited to an alliance between just the Catholics and the Muslims. It will include all the major faiths with one exception. It will not contain biblical Christianity, but rather Laodicean Christian church. That is lukewarm. Pope Francis praised Buddhism and its virtues. He was going and receiving, giving and receiving blessings in the presence of pagan statues. And there is a photo taken with Pope Francis and the Supreme Patriarch of Buddhism with a copy of his Declaration on Human Fraternity Manifesto of the coming one world religion. He previously entered into a covenant with Sheikh Ahmed Al Tayeb in Abu Dhabi earlier this year. They announced a Chrislam headquarters would be opened in Abu Dhabi by 2022. So is the Pope the false prophet of the Bible, of Revelation, or is some people say he's the Antichrist, but I kind of think more along the lines that he would be the false prophet. And then finally, an article about Zechariah'S vision appears, and it's from the book of Zechariah 14:12. It said Zechariah's vision of a plague of rotting flesh appears in China. Zechariah 14:2. China is suffering an outbreak of bubonic plague. A fourth case has been discovered in less than 3 weeks. A program to eliminate rats and fleas which carried the disease was also launched in Inner Mongolia. All the cases have been the pneumonic strain. It can be fatal if left untreated and is extremely contagious. The last outbreak in China was in 1855, when more than 12 million people in India and China died. And in the 14th century, the thing about the bubonic plague was the end result was 75 to 200 million people had died during that plague. The last outbreak of bubonic plague in the U.S. was in 1924 and was centered in the city of Los Angeles. And in July of this year, celebrity doctor Dr. Drew Pinsky predicted that Los Angeles was in danger of an outbreak of bubonic plague in what he termed an imminent apocalypse. And so he's saying that the city of Los Angeles is again right on the verge of a bubonic plague, major bubonic plague. And I wanted to read Zechariah, that scripture, Zechariah 14:12. And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouth. Now I know that there's some previously I've heard it explain that, that this Zechariah 14:12 could be in reference to nuclear neutron bomb or something that just, dissolves things away. That people could be standing, and then if that bomb went off in the atmosphere or something and you were underneath it, then this would be the end result of what would happen in an atomic blast like that. And I don't know that there's not something to that idea as well, but the people that did this article here seem to think that that this scripture is referring to an actual plague. And of course, now that we're seeing this thing beginning now, which I think they said in the last few years there's been like 200,000 cases worldwide. And so it's a plague, it's something that's coming back. And of course, it does say that one of the signs right before the Lord's return, pestilences, widespread diseases and stuff is going to be one of the signs of his second coming. So it may maybe get started now. The rapture takes place, and during the time of Jacob's trouble, you wind up having a full-blown bubonic plague all over again, and millions of people being affected and dying and stuff once again. That's it for now. I want to come on sometime in the next day or two in one of these videos or something and talk a little bit about December 10th. Catch you on the next upload.